Welcome to this week's OK at Work with myself, Sarah Sawyer, and my colleague Russell Berger, both attorneys at Offit Kurman. And today we are talking about employee training and investment in employees, using that as a retention tool, and also just kind of the cost benefit of doing some of these things. So I know, Russell, I have a lot of clients that will invest in training or different types of professional development for their employees and offer that as a benefit or as a way to incentivize employees to come work for them or to stay. But that obviously can come with a cost. And then if that employee leaves, well, now you've invested and you've poured all this into them and now they're gone. So what are some things that employers should consider when offering those types of benefits?
Yeah, well, to some extent, it's almost like if you're selling your house, right? And you have to decide what repairs you want to do before you put your house on the market. And part of what a realtor might ask you is what kind of return are you going to get on that investment? I think that's something a business owner should do in this same context. And obviously, we know that providing benefits, providing training, positively impacts recruiting and positively impacts retention. But to what extent? And that's a very specific question to the job itself, the industry, the cost of the training. As you just said, like you should definitely consider a cost benefit there. So I think that's the starting point for any business owner. And then the next part to that is there a way to mitigate some of the cost, which can again positively impact the cost benefit by requiring employees to pay for that training if they leave, or reimburse the cost of that training if they leave. Now, we see that all the time with tuition reimbursement agreements where a company will pay for college or grad school or other sorts of external training that the employee wants to get. But if the employee leaves, they have to repay it. And those are generally enforceable. But how far can you go with that? What are the limits on that? What kind of positions does that work with? I mean, those are, again, all very specific to the job type questions.
Yeah, and when considering these things, I think there's different categories of training, right? So there's training that people need to get to do their jobs and that are necessary. So especially in certain industries where they need hands-on training and to get better skills and actually be able to perform the job. Um, Asking an employee to reimburse you for that type of training or putting those types of clawback provisions in around things that are really benefiting the employer are where you might also run into more issues and problems with doing that, as opposed to saying, okay, I'll pay for some college credits for you, or you want to take this professional development course, but if you don't stay for at least a year, then you're gonna have to repay us for that. Those types of things I think are kind of seen from employees as kind of an added benefit, things that don't necessarily directly impact their job, but help them do their job better, and that they might be more open to that. But definitely want to give a full thought to the practical impact of those things.
And the other piece of this is that you have to also run the considerate or go through the process and run the analysis on whether this is actual compensable work time. So different types, obviously going to college is probably not going to be that, but there's a test that the Department of Labor has as to whether training time, especially when it's required by an employer, compensable time. Should they be getting paid for it? Should it go to does it factor into the overtime wage calculation? So those are all questions that employers ought to be conscious of as well when they start encouraging or mandating that their employees go through training programs.
Yeah, and that's definitely a nuanced analysis with the DOL, and always check your state as well, because always every state is different. So it, as with all of these things we always talk about. Well, thanks, Russell, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks, Sarah.